This week we are going to be talking about Queen Holly and the angry black woman trope. So just like last week, we are going to be breaking down 3 specific moments. The first is when Abby attacks both Nia and Holly about their appearance. The second is when Abby basically calls Nia dumb and insinuates that Holly is a bad mother. The third is when Abby insinuates that Nia is overweight. Nia is fat. Now you're probably wondering, why am I not including the Rosa Parks episode in this? The Rosa Parks episode deserves its own breakdown. That whole episode deserves its own breakdown because there are so many different things that are going on that are so racist and so problematic. That will be the next installment of this series. As hard as Abby and the producers tried to paint her as the angry black woman, they were never able to really take it there because Holly maintained her composure. But that's something she shouldn't have to do. If she were to get angry, she was valid in every point of her anger, and she shouldn't have had to hold back and contain herself when the other mothers literally just let it fly at Abby all of the time. So before we get into those moments, we are going to discuss the stereotypical angry woman black trope and the historical context so you understand where it's coming from and kind of where it all stems from. But also, if you want early and exclusive access to not only this series but all of my other content, then you can go ahead and follow those links down below to become a patron. Those subscriptions start as low as $5 a month, and I'd love to have you. You're here, so I love that you're here, but I'd love to see more of you. So let's get into it. One thing that is consistent all the way from the time that Nia and Holly appeared on the show all the way to the end is that Abby was constantly pushing Holly's buttons and hit below the belt in ways that she would not attack the other mothers. Like, she did not attack the other girl's hair. That's one thing she just never did. But knowing that as a black person, as a black woman, your hair is of significant importance, both culturally, emotionally, just all of those things. So she would often hit below the belt in those ways. It's almost like she was trying to egg Holly on so that she would be able to sit back and be like, hey, I knew that this is who you were all along. You're not this composed lady that you're trying to be. I'm trying to bring this angry black woman out of you. So anytime that Holly would really clap back or express her frustration, Abby usually doesn't go toe to toe with her. She might try, but she'll usually take a step back and try to frame herself as the victim in the situation despite clearly being the instigator. So where does the angry black woman stereotype come from? So throughout the video, I'll be referring to it as its full name, or I'll just be calling it the ABW because it's a lot shorter and we are now on the same page, so we know what I'm referring to when I say that. But it's basically a variation of the sapphire stereotype. Sapphire stereotype paints black women and girls as sassy, aggressive, demeaning, violent, rude, hateful, overly masculine, loud, and stubborn. The overly masculine part is something that Abby often attributes to Holly and Nia, which is disgusting and I don't like it. Women who fall into this stereotype in TV and then as a result in real life, they routinely abuse their children and their partners verbally, physically, and emotionally. But the angry black woman trope, aside from the sapphire trope, is exactly what it sounds like. It just means that black women are often irrationally angry and they get angry for absolutely no reason. It takes nothing at all to set them off. This in itself is used as a means of invalidating black women's frustrations. It is used to silence and shame black women who challenge social norms, complain, or bring light to unfair circumstances and demand fair and equitable treatment, which is something that Holly often did. She just wanted her daughter to be treated as everyone else, get the same respect that everyone else was given, even though that bar is still pretty low because Abby didn't really respect any of the girls or their mothers on the show. This racist trope also invalidates the black woman's being, their emotions, and their genuine reasons for being frustrated or upset. It's always brought forth in support of a racist system. So in the case of dance moms, it's upholding varying forms of white supremacy, simply put. This stereotype also places black women into a lose-lose situation. If she speaks up, then she's characterized as angry, aggressive, and overly sensitive. But if she doesn't speak up, then she is weak, incapable, easily manipulated, and dumb or dense. This stereotype allows the focus to be shifted away from the offensive or harmful thing that was initially said or done to get them upset, to policing their reaction, policing their tone, and pointing out the flaws in the ways in which they reacted or what they had said or done rather than the initial offense. This is done to shift responsibility and frustration unnecessarily onto the black woman for simply having emotions and existing as a black woman in a space with white folks. Black women are expected to keep their mouths shut and bite their tongues in any circumstance or face being put into this negative stereotype regardless of their response. It is overall meant to undermine their credibility, especially when they are in a position of power or influence, and Abby often saw Holly as someone who was in a position of power and influence because of the way that she carried herself, but also because of how smart she was and the fact that she had a doctorate or has a doctorate. So Holly is a very smart woman and she's very socially aware. So in all instances, whether she or Nia is being targeted, you can physically see that she's doing what she can to keep her cool, because she's very much aware that she and her daughter would easily be painted into this stereotype and harmful caricature, and they would be unable to get out of it once it had been fully solidified, not only for Abby and the moms and the girls, but also the viewers. Whenever she did speak out, Abby was quick to try and feign innocence or mock her to get her more upset, to place her further into this role in the eyes of everyone. Holly was not allowed to be frustrated or upset, and it's expected that she takes every insult that flies at her or her child with grace and a smile on her face, while the other mothers get into screaming matches with Abby on the regular. An example of the angry Black woman trope in television would be Cookie from Empire.
You want some trouble, Cookie?
No, I don't want no trouble, Lucius. I just had some questions. That's all. This was your first album to go gold. Now, I remember working on that 6 months before I went to prison. So whose DNA is in that, Lucius, huh?
As well as Bernadine in Waiting to Exhale.
Psychotic.
Couldn't started that damn company without me.
I mean, I got a master's degree in business, and there I was, his secretary, his office manager, and his computer.
No, Bernadine, you can't start the catering business this year. Why don't you wait a few years, huh?
Both women were extremely screwed over by their male counterparts, but their anger and frustration is the focal point rather than what was done to get them angry and seeing the validity in their anger. They were just painted as angry Black women, and nothing else really mattered after that point. Serena Williams, however, would be a real life example of someone who is consistently painted into the angry Black woman trope, which was highlighted after her US Open loss in 2018. Her genuine reasons for anger and frustration were completely forgotten, and her valid emotions were consistently invalidated and mocked. Okay, so let's get into this first moment. So to give some context, Maddie had just been given the Drop Dead Diva role, and everyone was actually really happy for her, but Melissa went back and told Abby that some of the mothers were talking shit, basically saying that the role was rigged for Maddie to win from the start, which 100% definitely was. But Abby is mad about this and targets Holly in her frustrations, and then redirects her anger towards Nia unnecessarily and in a very racist and problematic way.
Back of that knee. We finished? We're good? You think that's it? Okay. I've called everybody together to discuss the Drop Dead Diva part. These mothers go on and on about role models. Well, I'll tell you what, not being happy for someone else's success, that's the worst role model you could...
Arguably, I think being racist might be a little bit worse than that, but what do I know? I'm not a dance teacher.
I wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday, the role for Drop Dead Diva. I don't know if everybody was truly happy that Maddie got the role. It could have been any one of the kids that auditioned for it.
We all congratulated Maddie.
I think that the moron...
The girls all congratulated Maddie. I don't know what else you want us to do.
Notice that Holly, Nia's mom, didn't really say anything. And Abby had no clapback for the other mothers. Just keep that in mind.
Irony of ironies, Abby wants to reprimand all of us for not being happy enough for Maddie getting the role on Drop Dead Diva. I wanted to look at her and say, really, Ab? Because you didn't seem very happy when Chloe got, I don't know, the music video, the Joffrey audition, or first place when, you know, you ran out of the room crying because you were mortified.
Well, Melissa told me that you said it was rigged.
Melissa's a snitch.
I'm entitled to my opinion because I'm 42 years old and I'm a free American citizen. So I get to say whatever I want and believe whatever I want. I stand on my credentials and my knowledge.
The way that she was rubbing her hands together evilly, knowing that she was about to say some messed up stuff, just makes me sick. And this face, the get ready, because I'm about to be hella racist. All white ladies have this look before they say something racist and problematic. They all have it, I promise you.
Something you can never take away.
Then fix this hair, because it's horrible.
And why don't you fix your hair and fix your face and your body and everything else?
Look at the girls' faces. Look at their faces. But also something I just want to point out, look at the way that Chloe and Paige are literally holding hands. They're literally holding hands because of how uncomfortable and tense this situation is. But everyone was like super stoked when Holly clapped back at Abby because it was like about time, about time, about time. And she didn't yell, she didn't get really upset or anything, so she wasn't able to be put into that stereotypical angry black woman trope. But Abby doesn't stop here. She keeps going and going and going to try to get her more upset, to get her more angry, so then she could find a reason to invalidate her frustrations, even though they were completely valid. Also, her making the comment about fix this hair is disgusting. It's disgusting. Why would you ever say that to a child, especially a black child who has braids? And I think this was the first time that she had single braids when she was on the show. So it's just like, this is disgusting and you're very racist. And racist from the start. Like, this is season 2. The show went on for years after this. And in my opinion, it should have been cut right there. Right then and there. They should have been like, you know what, this is a little bit too much racism. We can't really handle this. And instead they're like, this is great TV. Great TV. Let's keep it up.
Can I join your dance company? I'll do it.
Let's start critiquing people. Let's start with you. Look in the mirror.
Holly had to go after me, you know, go for the jugular.
I'd argue that you went for the jugular first when you were talking about her kid. But again, what do I know? I'm not a dance teacher.
Look in the mirror, fix your own body, fix your own hair. Holly, let's start. Get a padded bra. Don't wear dresses. What else do you want me to tell you?
This just goes back to the point of Abby insinuating that Holly is masculine and manly, that she needs a padded bra, that she shouldn't wear dresses. Why should she not wear dresses? Everybody else wears dresses. Quickly, what's the reason?
What was the reason? What was the reason? What was the reason?
And you know what? I got approval for those braids when I got them put in.
Not in from my dance company, didn't it?
Yes,
Says
I
right in
did.
it.
Yes,
Do
I
not
did.
change your hair.
And you know,
Do not change your hair color. Nia's hair before the braids. Nia's hair after the braids. It's the same color. Just say you're racist and keep going. You are digging a deeper hole. You look silly right now, Abby. You look dumb. You look dumb as hell.
you know what? I did get approval for it, and this is part of her ethnicity.
Well, it's weighing her down. It's
Ethnic
weighing her
dancer.
down.
There are 4 other people
when you
here
made
that
the
are behind.
Holly says this, and I don't think she's saying this because she's trying to be mean. She's trying to be harsh. I think she's just trying to point out to Abby how incredibly racist she's being. Like, she literally says, there are 4 other kids here to pick on. Not saying to pick on them, but why are you targeting me and my daughter, us being the only black people in the room? The only black people on the show for years to come, actually. Who had a permanent spot on the show, at least.
Holly, it's like a log coming out of the side of her neck. And on all this, Nia, the lunge, the arch, all of that stuff is late and sloppy.
And then she realizes that she's not getting anywhere with taking digs about their appearance, so now she tries to mix in a dig with the appearance with a dig about Nia's dancing capabilities. Unfair. Unfair.
Your mother thinks you're early, you're not.
Enough is enough. If you want to fix someone up, and if you're such like a Miss Fix-It, fix yourself. Look in the mirror. Start with the woman in the mirror and leave my kid alone.
Period. I feel like that's a perfect way to end this segment. So now we are going to get into the second clip. So to give some context, Holly worked full-time. She was and is still a doctor. She had a full-time job, unlike a lot of the other mothers on the show, and that's no shade to them. She just worked. And so she wasn't able to be at the studio all day, every day, like the other mothers were. This is something that Abby often shamed Holly for, but she wouldn't shame her to her face. She would shame Nia and make Nia feel bad about it, when I feel like Nia really didn't care that her mom had to work. Like, she just understood that that was the reality. This just was very problematic and also fit into the Sapphire trope of trying to paint her as just like she was an inadequate parent, like she was a bad mother, like she was an absent mother. And that just wasn't the case at all. So we are going to get into this clip.
Nia, where's your mother?
She's at
Not gonna happen.
What do you mean not gonna happen? She's literally at work. She's already there. It's already happening.
Yes, she needs to leave work, leave the job,
on earth
forget
would it
it,
be
and be
expected
here
for
with
her
you.
to leave her job
That's what's
to sit
important.
at dance?
Yes. When all the moms are there and one isn't, I think Nia feels badly.
I think she's just projecting. I definitely think she's just projecting because Nia does not seem to be affected at all until Abby literally continually points it out.
I feel bad for the kid and I get angry with the mother.
Do you really feel bad for the kid, or do you just need an excuse to get angry with the mom?
Nia, are you in front of Brooke? Are you behind Brooke? Are you next to Brooke? What are you doing? You're all over the place.
I knew she was. Poor Nia.
Poor Nia, and yet no one stands up for her. What the hell?
Hello, how's everything going? I spoke to Christy. She told me that Abby was being harsh. I wasn't at Pyramid. I'm the adult.
Queen
Nia
Holly
has
taking
no
responsibility
control
for her
over
own
me.
actions
And there
while
was
still
no
holding
need
Abby
for
accountable.
to be
You
harsh
love to
or
see
Take
it.
it out on Nia because I wasn't present for Pyramid.
Here you are.
Abby is so condescending
Just
whenever she
checking
talks to
see
Holly.
if everything's okay between us because it doesn't sound like
No,
it is.
the parents were required to be here
The
today.
dramatic music in this show kills me. It kills me. Like, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary at all. But I love the way that Holly came in and was just like still trying to be kind and cordial, even though she knew that her daughter had literally been mistreated by Abby. She did not want to come in as the stereotypical angry black woman, even though she had every right to be upset and frustrated with Abby in more ways than one.
Here, I think moms who don't work probably have a more flexible schedule, but you know that I work, so I cannot.
If you cared and you want to speak your opinion, you be here at the meeting.
So now you're insinuating that she doesn't care because she had to work?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
I can't believe this is starting already again.
Abby, let's not go there once again.
You need to be here. I feel right now that I care more about Nia's success than you do.
No, well,
Your husband was here. He walked right in the door. Why didn't he stay?
Also notice how Abby's tone is getting more and more elevated because Holly is literally not reacting. It's like she's getting more upset, the less upset that Holly visibly is. Trying to get her angry, trying to work her up, trying to insinuate that Holly and her husband are not good parents when they literally are paying thousands of dollars to put their daughter in dance. They're subjecting her to this because their daughter wants to dance. They're not bad parents.
Abby, if you...
My dad even took me to the mother-daughter talk about getting your period. My dad took me because my mother was at work.
Christy and Kelly. Christy and Kelly's face, literally me. Literally same. Because what the hell? This just goes back to my point before where I was saying that, like, Abby was literally projecting onto Nia. She's projecting her own unresolved childhood trauma onto this little black girl who has nothing to do with the fact that her mother did not talk about periods with her. This has nothing to do with Holly, and this has everything to do with Abby and her own undealt with trauma, which is so unnecessary. Like, it does not need to be brought up right now at all. But their faces, it kills me. It kills me because literally same. The first time I watched this, I was like, what the hell is even going on up in here? Like, what?
Oh my God, she's talking about a period? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Oh, but I want to kill myself.
Figure it out because you know what?
Abby.
The kid needs somebody.
Was I?
She's not that swift.
And now because that didn't get a reaction out of her, she calls the child dumb. Just doing whatever she can to poke at Holly to get her angry, trying to push her buttons to actively push her into that stereotypical angry black woman trope, and Holly is not taking the bait. She's just making Abby look foolish, like the big fool she is, at her big age, saying such ridiculous things to a grown woman about a child.
She's not.
How
She
dare
needs
you?
help. She needs you to be here.
Oh,
She
Abby.
needs people to take notes.
Abby.
You think you're up here because you have a doctor.
And the truth comes out. The truth comes out. So Miss Abby feels like she is beneath Holly because Holly has a doctorate, because Holly is smart, she is brilliant, she is beautiful, she's happily married, she's educated, she has beautiful children who are extremely talented. Abby is just so threatened by Holly, she literally will try and attack her at every possible turn. To me, it's very frustrating how this was seen as entertainment and how I, as a child, was consuming this as entertainment, not realizing how problematic it was and how harmful it was to my understanding of how the world works and how black women are supposed to be treated.
Else is
That's
down
your
here.
problem, Abby. You were intimidated by me because I did a doctorate.
Bull.
Oh, Abby, don't be ignorant.
Please. That's it. No.
And then she yells and proceeds to storm out, angry, upset that she did not get the reaction that she wanted, and instead just looked like a fool. This is just another example of a time that Holly had to hold in her anger and her frustration, even though she would have been valid in getting angry and upset with Abby, because Abby made a lot of unfair digs here. She made a lot of unnecessary comments. She even called Nia dumb. And it's like, you don't do that. Like, Nia's a little girl. She is a child. If she is not picking up the dances quickly enough, if she needs more help, that's literally what you're there for. What is Holly supposed to teach her about dance? That's why she brings her to the dance studio, Abby. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But Queen Holly, we love, we stand for now and forever. Okay, so to give some context for this third and final clip, Abby had just been gone for a week and they're about to go into a competition and they're not feeling very confident with the piece that they've been given. The mothers are upset because they don't feel as if the kids are really getting their money's worth. They don't feel like the kids are getting the proper technical training that Abby promised when they signed on to be a member of her dance studio. So multiple moms talk about this, but of course, when Holly talks about it, she's attacked and Nia is attacked. It's like Abby knows the only thing that can really send Holly over the edge is when she tries to attack Nia and her looks, or Nia and her smarts, Nia and her capabilities, because it's just all untrue and it's super unfair and it's all rooted in very racist tendencies anyways, because why are you attacking the only black child on your team? So let's get into it.
How's everybody feel this morning? Yes?
So wait, are we here for a performance piece, or are you thinking we're going to win with this?
We are confusing the word performance. Everybody's thinking automatically facial expression.
It's so rude to me how she can't even look at the mothers as they're trying to talk to her about something. It's very weird.
That a performance is flawless. Your releve is higher than it's ever been. That your legs are straighter than they've ever been. That your posture is superb.
But you do realize that all of that comes with ballet training.
That's the second mom now who has said something about the dance and said something about the quality of training that they're getting. Second, let's just keep that in mind.
An hour a week is not gonna fix anything.
We do hip hop, we do musical theater, we do tumbling. Maybe we need to not do like so many frivolous classes and do more of what we need.
Technique.
Yes.
Good hair, Joseph.
Your business is thriving. Our children are not right now because they're caught in the middle.
When they were home, they didn't work their ass off.
Well, that's not true. That's not really true, Abby.
Stop it right now.
Did you even see Nia?
That doesn't mean she wasn't working.
And I feel like that is one of the only moments that I have seen Holly really raise her voice or raise her tone in any way, but it's because Abby's literally lying on her daughter and trying to make it seem like Nia's just being lazy, which fits into another stereotype about black people. The harmful stereotypes and boxes that she tries to place Holly and Nia in consistently are disgusting. But also notice every single mom has, except for one, has now said something. But as soon as Holly says something, all of a sudden they need to go at it. Why? Why?
Wasn't working. Nia was an appoint attentive with Complexions Ballet Dance Company, Misty Copeland, and Debbie Allen. Stop lying about my kid.
She did not come to her studio.
But that mean she did not work.
I can see by the size of the thigh, butt mounting in the air.
So Holly had a couple valid points and Abby has no counter. So what does she do? Insult her child, because she knows that that will just get her angry, and then it allows her to kind of not say anything else. Why are you fat shaming a child? Let alone one of your own students. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And even if Nia was fat, that should not be a problem, because Abby herself is literally fat. How are you going to fat shame somebody else as a literal fat person? And fat is not a derogatory word. Fat is literally just a descriptor. Fat phobia and body shaming also have roots in anti-blackness, so this is actually Abby being more problematic than she normally is. But if you want to know more about that, then you should read Fearing the Black Body by Sabrina Strings or Belly of the Beast by Deshaun L. Harrison, or read them both because they're both great, and it gets you to unpack your own internal fat phobia. How are you going to fat shame somebody else being fat yourself? It's not making sense. It's really not making sense, and I don't like it. Also, the fact that you're fat shaming a literal child, and the only black child that has consistently been on your team, is horrendous.
Hush your mouth. Oh, you are a class act.
I can't believe she literally just flipped off Holly. She had nothing else to say, no good comments, no good comeback, so she just flips her off instead of addressing the very valid points that Holly has for her anger and her frustrations, which she let out in this moment. But again, this just goes back to, I really believe that Abby was always doing everything that she could to try to instigate, to try to get Holly upset, so she could sit back and paint herself as the victim. So she could be like, yeah, you're just angry, and because you're angry, I don't have to listen to anything that you have to say right now.
Yeah, and you know what? That sums you up really well. And Misty Copeland didn't get her this gig, sweetheart. Remember that.
And you know what? We gave you a lot of praise and credit, and that's what you give us?
I don't want credit for this speech. You're a coward.
And as per usual, when Abby does not have a good comeback for Holly, what does she do? She gets up and walks away. And that is the second installment of Racist and Problematic Moments from Dance Moms, unpacked, rewatched, and recapped with you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you when we do this again. And again, if you want exclusive early access, then you can just go ahead and become a patron. I loved seeing you here, and I'd love to see you over there as well. You can find those links down below, and make sure you subscribe because I want to see you when we do this again. And if you have any other suggestions of things that you'd like me to cover, specific moments from Dance Moms or other reality TV shows, leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again real soon.